qaldayaan markaad qadarisood qiimaa u yeeshay qab weyni yeeshaan haygu qaraarine iiga quuso iima qalantida wadada ku qulqul haygu qaraarine iiga quuso iima qalantida wadada ku qulqul.
Welcome to Integration TV, our first edition of Sheh and Sheko, where we talk about the hottest things that are trending online affecting Somalis around the world. Many of the things that are happening globally actually now happen on the internet. So we'll discuss hashtags, stories, videos, things that are hot and happening in our community globally. Earlier in the show, the girls that you saw singing are from Turkey. They live in Turkey and they study in Turkey. And I was happy to enjoy some time with them and get to know these young people who are from Somalia for the first time leaving the country to have an opportunity for education. And can you imagine, 2,000 of them are studying in Turkey, courtesy of Turkish government. So thank you to everyone in Turkey who's taking part to empower young people to rebuild their minds. Today's program, we're going to focus on something very special and unique that's happening online. It's called a hashtag Adan Studies. It's been taking off, and we want to know why is this relevant in our community, and why should we as Somalis be concerned about Adan Studies. So today we're going to meet Safia Aidid, who is actually a student, not just a student, a PhD student at one of the top universities in the world, Harvard. That's right, she's in her third year and she focuses on Somali and Ethiopian history. And she joins us now live from Boston to discuss hashtag Adan Studies. Safia, welcome!
Thanks for having me, Hildan.
I'm so excited to learn all about this hashtag and what dialogue it's created for our community. So why Adan Studies? This hashtag means basically white studies. So why should we be concerned about this, and what is it?
So it came up when I found a journal, an academic journal, called the Somaliland Journal of African Studies. And looking at it, I read the statement that it was done in collaboration with the University of Hargeisa, students, scholars. And then when you actually look at the editors on it, the advisory committee, the Somali is actually represented. So I linked that to a broader issue of the erasure of Somali people from the field of Somali studies. And I announced, starting this hashtag, we're going to call it Adan Studies on Facebook. And then after some really controversial comments by a German anthropologist named Marcus Hone, it actually took quite off.
So what was the response?
Yeah, so initially people were quite outraged about the journal on Facebook. We organized, this action at 6 p.m. the next day. But the morning before it actually went live on Twitter, a German anthropologist named Marcus Hone, who's part of the advisory committee of this journal, made some really inflammatory and problematic remarks about Somalis and their capacity for scholarship. So, Marcus Hone, because of his comments, actually incited this and created the continued response that we're seeing today.
So tell me this, so there's a journal that's created and there's an advisory council, there's stories about Somali people, but there's no Somalis involved?
Yeah, not only about Somali people, but the idea is they claim to be doing this in collaboration with the University of Hargeisa's scholars and students. And then when you look at who their editors are, who their advisors are, who's actually being published in it, there isn't a single Somali person at all.
So why should we be concerned about this?
Well, it's the idea that Somalis are being excluded from academic production. It's part of a larger history in African studies where knowledge, is really the production of the West. So this only got more intense actually when one of the advisors of an anthropologist named Marcus Hone, he actually responded and said, the reason why Somalis aren't there is because Somali academics simply don't exist. And so this hashtag really took off in response to that, challenging that assumption, challenging the lack of our presence in academia.
You know what's interesting is that we actually emailed Mr. Marcus Hone and we've invited him to the program and he did not respond to us. So in fairness of always providing balanced feedback from our communities, we just like to let everybody know that we did give him the opportunity to appear on here. So basically when he responded to this hashtag, some people said it wasn't very friendly, was it?
Yeah, he actually jumped into my personal Facebook page. So I made this status public. I said, "Hey guys, we're gonna do this and launch this hashtag." And then he just came in with his own ideas about why Somalis are excluded in really some of the most patronizing and offensive ways possible. He called us tribalists. He also said that we don't have enough Somalis with credentials, with the education and skills, with the discipline even. He said, you need to spend more time in your chair, 8 hours.
Isn't it a little concerning that someone who studies Somalis would have these opinions of us?
Absolutely. I mean, it's actually quite dangerous to have somebody who has built a career Somalia on Somali people and really has this loathing for the people that he researches. So part of the work of this hashtag and what it's doing is telling people that there's a difference between speaking about and speaking for. So all of us were speaking for Somalia and Somali studies, whereas he's speaking about Somalis and really in problematic ways when he thinks that no one's watching, on places like Facebook.
So many of us online have been reading the tweets and everybody responding. Now tell me this, can Somalis be objective in research?
I don't think anyone can be truly objective. I think that's an old model of, objectivity. Just throw that out of the window. All of us are people. We have our own social locations, our own contexts and histories. And, as a researcher, you bring that into your academic work. So for a long time, and, you see this in Marcus Hone's comments, the idea that if Somali. You're not enough removed from your Somaliness to be able to think critically. Whereas him, as a European, thinks that he can gaze upon the Somali territories and provide that objective gaze, when really that's not true at all. And that's something that many people, many of us were challenging in that.
We've been speaking with Sophia Aidid, live from Harvard University, and talking about the hashtag Adan Studies. We'll be right back after these messages.
To truly understand that there is a correlation between story and wellness, and that to take over another people's narrative has some very negative physiological and psychological effects.
Sophia, it's an interesting point when you talk about the narrative and who controls Somali stories and Somali studies. Right now we're going to have Mark Gonzalez, who's the author of In Times of Terror, Wage Beauty. He's a specialist who talks about how do communities create ripple effects to bring change to their societies. And he joins us from San Francisco in his home. Mark, why is it important to own one's own narrative?
For me, it's quite simple, and we've talked about this before. It's that a culture that is not in control of their own narrative will forever live at the mercy of another's pen. Stories are more than just pretty words curated together or strung together to create some fancy idea in people's minds. Stories carry things. They carry memories. They carry the experiences of loved ones, of our lives, of our elders, of our hopes of our future, of fantasy, of imagination. And I think when you realize all those things tied together into this medium we called storytelling, to not be in control of that and to be passive in that is to be very dangerous. It means to let another person have ownership of your own family's lived experience.
Fascinating. Tell us about your new book and how this could impact our communities.
The Terror Wage Beauty is, as one person says, a personal guide for social good, and as another colleague says, is a manifesto for modern living. What it is 91 pages of prose, poetics, and visual design put together in a collection of 19 chapters or vignettes that deal with things like intergenerational forgiveness or radical compassion or fierce vulnerability or storytelling for impact, and asks how do we create a toolkit for our generation to move us forward. I think it's really trying to engage this question of what 21st century leadership looks like. And it's a question that many communities and sectors are trying to ask. But sadly, most of them are asking it by pulling from 20th century models of leadership. And those models did not serve us, and they actually harmed a lot of people. So we have to look for a new series of ideas and idea capital that can grow us forward.
Great. Mark, thanks for joining us. We'll let you go. So Sophia, before we let you go, tell us how many Somalis are at Harvard, the best university in the world, where President Obama graduated from, and many of the presidents of the United States. Tell us, how many fascinating Somalis are there?
Okay, so that I know, and of course there are going to be many more that I haven't met or crossed paths with. In the college, we have 2 undergraduates, one studying sociology, a young woman, another studying computer science. At the Harvard Kennedy School, which is a graduate school on government and public policy, we have a Somali woman, Fadma Dayeb, some of you may know, is running for president of Somalia soon. We also have another young man from Kenya, and he's also studying a master's. There's me, of course, in the graduate school. We have some medical doctors who are affiliated with the Harvard Medical School who also teach there. And believe it or not, Harvard University teaches of Somali as well as an African language. And there's an of Somali instructor here, available to teach the language to anyone who wants to take it for credit at Harvard University.
That's amazing. Maybe I need to sign up at Harvard, guys, huh? Well, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll continue the dialogue, and we'll follow the hashtag Adan Studies and see where it goes, because I think you have started something amazing, and if I say woken up Somali people, because we need to wake up. We have so much to do, and it's going to start with us, right?
Yep. Thanks for having me, Hoban.
Continue the dialogue online and continue sharing Somali stories, Somali studies, Somali things that are important to us to make a change for our communities worldwide, not just in Somalia, but also in the diaspora. So thanks for joining us today, and we'll leave you with a little clip of music, because I always say music brings happiness and joy, because young people love music. So my friends from Turkey, I want to thank you so much, those great students who inspired me every day to continue the work I do, and we'll leave you with a great little song by Mohammed BK called Muna, but they changed it to Holland. So we'll see you next time on Tea and Talk, or Shah and Sheko. No more dream killers. Take care.
ولقد معاصي ما بعلشوا تذكر معروضة عرب كيرو كيروانو هذا ما بعلشوا تذكر معروضة عرب كيرو